All right, we are picking every bowl game against the spread, and this is Bowl Preview Part 3. So let's go ahead and get to it. I'm your host, Gary Seegers, at GaryWCE on all the different socials. I'm the most active on X, so you can follow me over there if you would so kindly. And we've got 17 bowl games to discuss today. All the games from December 28th all the way through January the 4th. No playoff games. We'll do a separate video for those. But yes, many games to discuss. You can find me on the BetUS College Football Show. We talk about all of these games as well. A much deeper dive because these are short dives. These are quick previews and picks. But the official plays, everything else, will be over on the BetUS College Football Show. There's a link in the description, so you can check that out as well. And if you like the sheets that we've got, bettingcfb.com, you can be a member over there, $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. Lots of bonus podcasts, bonus stats, stat graphics, etc. Go ahead and check those out if you would so kindly. Okay, let's get into it. Let's dive in. Let's start off with our first game on December 28th. And we've got the Fenway Bowl, North Carolina against UConn, and you want to talk about opt-outs. I mean, we got opt-outs all over the place. Bill Belichick will not be coaching in this one. Currently, North Carolina is a 2.5-point favorite. My numbers, based on the full season, have got North Carolina favored by 4, but there's no Omarion Hampton. There's a bunch of offensive linemen and defensive guys that are out for North Carolina. They are sitting this one out, whether it be transfer portal or getting ready for the NFL draft, whatever. UConn also has quite a few guys out. The guy that led them in rushing as far as a yards per carry attempt or yards per carry average this season, he is headed to Auburn. So he's already committed, he's already signed, all that kind of stuff. So not as many opt-outs for UConn as there are North Carolina. But when you start diving into this is where it gets kind of tricky, right? Number 22 in 247 talent composite compared to number 101. If you're starting to get into the depth of UConn at this point in the season, and they are dealing with some injuries, etc., North Carolina's depth is still better than UConn's depth. And UConn has not beaten a, UConn has not beaten an ACC team in their last 6 tries, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't expect them to win this one. I think they will be fired up. I think they'll be more motivated for this one. But if you're just looking at a pure talent standpoint, which is what we're doing here, because none of these numbers matter when the majority of the people that created the numbers are gone. So if we're really looking at the game on itself, this thing came from 4.5 all the way down to 2.5. I think there's even some 2s out there. I'm going to take North Carolina to cover that number. I think they can win this game by at least a field goal. So I will take North Carolina on that. Okay. The Pinstripe Bowl. There we go. Scroll it up a little bit. The Pinstripe Bowl, let's see. We got Boston College against Nebraska. And currently, Nebraska is a 2.5-point favorite. This is another one that opened as Nebraska a 4.5-point favorite. And now they are down to a 2.5-point favorite. And I'm not totally sure exactly what to make of that. My number says Nebraska by 1.5. My spread based on the last 4 weeks of stats, so to close out the season, would actually have Boston College favored by 7 here. You lost Tony White, the defensive coordinator for Nebraska. He is headed to Florida State. On top of that, lost a bunch of defensive guys in the portal. The thing that has me interested here is Nebraska certainly more talented than Boston College, even with some of the guys out. But also, Dana Holgorsen is the new offensive coordinator for Nebraska. The offense certainly picked up in week, whatever it was, the second to last game of the season against Wisconsin. They put up 44 points in that game. And this is the first time that they have had a chance to really scheme, really game plan with him. And if you know that your defense is going to give up some points, which I would imagine they will, Boston College is number 56 in offensive points per game at 29.3. I think that this Nebraska offense is going to look completely different. I think we're going to see an over. I think we're going to see a lot of points here. I already took the over on the BetUS College Football Show. I'm going to take Nebraska. I really like Nebraska minus the 2.5. It's their first bowl game in forever, so they're excited about this. Matt Rule has not been very good in bowl games, but even still, I believe that Dylan Raiola and that offense are going to put up numbers against a fairly weak Boston College defense, right? Number 57 in PPA allowed per drive for Boston College's defense, number 70 in defensive success rate, and here's the biggie, number 101 in passing success rate allowed. They're number one in passing explosiveness allowed. That number right there is based really on what Nebraska did with Marcus Satterfield as the OC. Now with Dana Holgorsen, you don't think they're going to stretch the field a little bit with Dylan Raiola? Yeah, give me Nebraska on this one. All right. Next up, the New Mexico Bowl, TCU and Louisiana. And TCU currently a 13-point favorite in this one. My number has TCU favored by 9.29. Spread based on the last 4 weeks of stats would actually have Louisiana favored. However, Louisiana's starting quarterback, Ben Wooldridge, got hurt late in the season. Broken collarbone, if I'm not mistaken. And Louisiana's backup quarterback, Chandler Fields, who actually had been doing pretty good things, he's out as well. So these offensive numbers for Louisiana, where they're number 11 in PPA per pass, number 13 in QBR, number 32 PPA per rush, all this kind of stuff, that's all kind of predicated on those quarterbacks being able to play. Now, they're saying that the timeline kind of syncs up with Ben Wooldridge being able to play in this one. I don't see it. I don't see them being able to get him back in time for this. I think TCU is going to have a day. Yeah, Savion Williams is out. He opted out of this one for TCU. But I think Hoover and that offense, especially with Kendall Briles, the pace that they're going to want to run, they're going to be able to put up a lot of points here. And so, you can see number 51 in passing success rate, number 54 in passing explosiveness for TCU against number 100 in passing success rate and passing explosiveness for Louisiana. Louisiana, number 121 in havoc created. That's not good. TCU's offense. And I know that Brockermeyer is, I think he's opting out. He's in the portal now. He's their starting center. I don't think that's going to make much of a difference here. I think Hoover and that bunch are still going to be able to put up some points. This looks like it could be a whipping because I don't know what Louisiana is if they don't have their quarterbacks. So let's go on and take TCU minus the 13 there. And we continue on. The Pop-Tarts Bowl. Miami, Florida, and the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami currently a 3.5-point favorite. My number for the full season would have Miami favored by almost 15 points, which is absurd, but still kind of makes sense when you look at PPA margin number 7 for Miami and number 70 for Iowa State. A lot of my numbers are predictive numbers. Iowa State, while they have had a really good season, they have not put up the kind of numbers that Miami has, certainly. Spread based on the last 4 weeks would actually have Iowa State favored by 13. Now, remember, that is an incredibly short sample size, incredibly small sample size. So just pay attention to it. All right, Miami, really good throwing the football. Probably going to be just fine throwing the football. Iowa State can't get to the quarterback. Havoc rate, they're number 72 in havoc created. Miami, number 6 in havoc allowed. Here's where it gets tricky for Iowa State. I don't know how often they're going to have the ball because I do think Miami's going to run the ball more. Number 9 in PPA per rush. They're number 1 in rushing success rate in the country. So Fletcher and Martinez, they are going to be able to do whatever they want to here. Iowa State, number 79 in rushing success rate allowed. Miami, number 5 in offensive line yards, number 2 in stuff rate allowed. Yeah, Iowa State, number 66 in offensive line yards allowed, and number 33 in stuff rate. This looks like just an absolute overwhelming matchup for Iowa State. PPA per rush for Iowa State, number 83, number 104 in rushing success rate. They're not going to be able to run the ball on Miami, so it's going to come down to Rocco Becht against that Miami secondary. The Miami secondary isn't great, but also Iowa State is not exactly consistent throwing the football. Number 74 in QBR. They are number 35 in passing success rate, but Miami's defense is number 47 in passing success rate. They're number 47 in yards per attempt, number 52 in PPA per pass. I think that Miami's defense, even though you saw certain teams be able to move the ball on them pretty effectively, I don't think Iowa State is one of those teams. So I will take Miami here, minus the 14, or minus the 3.5. I think that Miami kind of rolls these guys. The Arizona Bowl. Colorado State against Miami of Ohio. Currently, Miami of Ohio is favored by 3 points here. This one's tricky for me because Colorado State has not made a bowl game since 2017. Miami, Ohio, though, they show up for every bowl game. They've covered 5 straight. Won 5 straight, covered 5 straight. They're really, really good in this spot. Chuck Martin really knows how to get his team motivated for these. This is an interesting spot. The full season numbers don't tell the full story for Miami of Ohio. Number 73 in ESPN Strength of Record. Colorado State is number 58. This defense, like the thing that Colorado State is going to try and do is throw the ball. Fowler Nicolosi, I hope that's his name. I think that's right. Number 44 in PPA per pass, but they only throw the ball 44% of the time. They run it a lot, but they're not good at running it. These Miami, Ohio numbers are not great because when you really look at it, the numbers were skewed when they played Cincinnati, Northwestern, Ohio State, blah, blah, blah. Or Notre Dame, not Ohio State, excuse me. They played some big-time P4 teams, and the numbers got skewed. Colorado State, kind of the same thing with the one game against Texas. It's just that Miami, Ohio did nothing in their first 3 or 4 games, and once they got into conference play, they were significantly better. Now, we can talk about who they played and whatnot, but still. This comes down to coaching for me. If you're looking at explosiveness and whatnot, the fact that Miami, Ohio does not allow explosives, that's a pretty big deal because I think Jay Norvell and bunch kind of need those to be able to hang in this game. I'm not expecting them to be able to create any. Give me Miami. I like Miami to cover the 3 here because of Chuck Martin. Game number 6, the Military Bowl. And we got NC State and East Carolina. And currently NC State favored by 5.5 in this one. My numbers would have NC State favored by 7. My spread based on the last 4 weeks would only have NC State favored by like 1/10 of a point. Not a lot. Pretty even game because East Carolina really got things moving towards the end of the season. East Carolina is 7-2 in their last 9 against NC State and North Carolina. 7-2 against the spread, just against the spread. They tend to keep this one pretty close. East Carolina finally got things moving after they fired Mike Houston. I like Mike Houston, but you see what they're able to do on offense. Number 48 PPA per pass. They made a quarterback change, and they have been a lot better since. Number 45 in QBR. NC State is number 77 in QBR. Number 95 in pass success rate. And NC State's defensive coordinator, Tony Gibson, right there, he is gone. He is the new Marshall head coach, so he is not going to be here for this one. But it's not like NC State was all that good anyway. Number 73 in PPA allowed per drive. That's not great. Not great in the slightest. NC State, their offense really got moving at the end of the season. C.J. Bailey has done a fantastic job. That's the freshman quarterback that took over there. Number 27 in PPA per pass. Number 51 in QBR. They are number 13 in passing explosiveness. But a lot of that is Kevin Concepcion, right? That's the wide receiver that's in the portal right now. He's like the number 4 overall guy. Colorado, Alabama, Miami, etc. are all vying for his commitment there, but he's fantastic. He's not going to play. They got multiple other guys that are not going to play. I think East Carolina's going to be fired up for this one. They got their interim coach the job. There's not a lot of opt-outs for them. They're going to be fired up. I expect East Carolina to hang in this game. Give me the Pirates plus 5.5 on that one. Let me tell you right quick. Tickets are expensive, but my God, do they make a great Christmas present. Okay? If you were still looking for last-minute gifts, You can buy tickets to NBA games, college football playoff games, everything. Really, a ticket to any kind of situation that you want. You can go to concerts. Metallica's going on the road next year. AC/DC's going on the road next year, etc. You can go and check out all of them. If you get your tickets on TicketSmarter, ticketsmarter.com is where you need to go and use the promo code WCE10 or WCE20. WCE10 is going to get you $10 off an order of $100 or more. WCE20 is going to get you $20 off an order of $300 or more. And all you got to do is go put in that promo code when you go to ticketsmarter.com. So give the gift of an experience and do yourself a favor and save some money while you're doing it. Go to ticketsmarter.com. Think smarter with TicketSmarter. Don't forget, of course, if you haven't, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel or the podcast, however you are consuming the content. We would certainly appreciate it. And I say we as me because this is a one-man show. If you would like to support, of course, bettingcfb.com is where you get the stat sheets, and it's also where you get my bonus content, bonus audio, etc. It's where I just like to riff, and I have a good time with it, and you guys have been a lot of fun. So I certainly appreciate all of you. All right, we carry on, and we are moving to the Alamo Bowl. Colorado and BYU. BYU's second leading receiver is going to be out for this one. He's got an injury. So Colorado is now a 5.5-point favorite in this. And I find that interesting. Now, my numbers do have Colorado favored by 4. Spread based on the last 4 weeks of stats has got Colorado minus 16. However, BYU is like 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 as an underdog. They always seem to get up for these games. BYU played a tougher strength of schedule. They had a better strength of record, etc. Not going to be a lot of opt-outs on either side. Coach Prime has already said Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders and those guys, nobody is opting out. They are going to play. Now, obviously, that could change by game time. We are recording this on Friday, December 20th, because I'm going to be moving around quite a bit over Christmas, and I want to make sure that I get all of these in. But still, I tend to believe that BYU is going to be able to hang in this game. I know that their second leading receiver is out, but still, it does not bother me all that much. I believe in Kalani Sitake's ability to motivate his team for games like this. They're always fired up. Always. And when they're underdogs, they seem to play better. So, Colorado, number 22 in PPA margin, BYU, number 34. You're looking at two teams that are, one, wildly exceeded expectations this year. You start looking at the intangibles, the intangibles here, and you've got special teams efficiency, BYU number 9, Colorado number 95. Turnover margin, both of them are really good at turnover margin, number 11 and number 17. Then you get to penalties. BYU, number 16 in penalties per game, number 16 in penalty yards per game. Colorado, number 120 in penalties per game, number 118 in penalty yards per game. And so you're looking at number, 40 yards per game in penalty yards for BYU, 68. So you're looking at 28 yards of hidden yards for BYU in a game like this. It's pretty wild. Pretty wild. Yeah, that's a lot of points. I think you can even get a 6 out there. Yes, you can. All right, we're changing it up. BYU plus 6 is the way we're going. I know there's a lot of love for BYU in the market. I mean, a lot of love for Colorado in the market. I'm going against that. Give me BYU to stay within this number. I think we're coming down to a field goal. We could see something like a 31-27 kind of game, and that'll get me a cover on this one. Okay. The Independence Bowl. And this is not the right graphic. Good gracious. Okay. I thought I had this set up. Hold on. Well, I had one, but maybe not. Independence Bowl. Do we have it under downloads? Yes, we do. That's what we're looking for. We changed people. This is great podcasting, by the way. I'm sure you guys are riveted by this. Okay. The Independence Bowl. Army versus Louisiana Tech. Yes, Marshall had to opt out. Louisiana Tech is excited. However, Louisiana Tech already has several guys that are in the transfer portal, especially from that defensive line. Darius Bray, whatever it is. I should know this. Regardless, Louisiana Tech, they're on the quarter system. They were available to play. They already had all their guys still on campus. We made it work. So we got us a game in Shreveport, and this is exciting, right? Very, very exciting. I've got Army. So Army is favored by 17 right now. I've actually got Army favored by 12.61 in this. I don't know why that pulled Navy instead of Army. Let's not pay attention to the last 4 weeks. All right. You're looking at a PPA margin of 10 for Army, number 94 for Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech's offense is absolutely atrocious. They are number 133 in PPA per rush. They are number 119 in rushing success rate. So that is the weakness of Army's defense, and it doesn't look like Louisiana Tech will be able to exploit that. On the other side, or not the other side, when Louisiana Tech is trying to throw the ball, they're number 110 in PPA per pass. They are number... They're number 72 in QBR. Army's pretty good at defending the pass. They're not great at it. They're number 104 in passing success rate allowed, number 104 in passing explosiveness allowed. Here's the deal. Never bet against a service academy in a bowl game. At least you're not supposed to. And even though this number is crazy, and this number is way out there, I am still of the belief that Army is going to be able to cover this. Louisiana Tech has not been geared up for this one. They have not faced a triple in a while other than Kennesaw State. And it's a completely different kind of option offense. Yes. Give me... Give me Army. Give me Army, minus the 17. Yep, we're going to write it down. Boy, that's wild. That's wild. What a crazy bowl season. The Music City Bowl. The Iowa Hawkeyes and the Missouri Tigers. Missouri currently favored by 3 here. And let's see. Yes, Missouri favored by 3. And I've got Missouri favored by 4. Now, Luther Burden sitting out. Iowa's Caleb Johnson sitting out. That's the running back. Luther Burden is the wide receiver for Missouri. There is potential maybe that Brady Cook opts out of this one. Maybe Theo Weiss opts out of this one. We'll see. I think Theo Weiss is probably going to play so long as Brady Cook plays. I think Missouri is... I think they're going to have the majority of their guys in this one. That's what I have gathered. Iowa... Same thing. They're going to have several guys because most of their guys are coming back for next year. And the ones that aren't are seniors, and it's not like they're really necessarily going to the NFL. They just want one more game. Without Caleb Johnson, I don't know how they move the ball. They're saying that Brendan Sullivan could be back for this one. If that's the case, if Brendan Sullivan plays, probably going to take Iowa in this. If he doesn't play, then I don't know how they move the ball. Because with a third-string quarterback and no Caleb Johnson, I don't know what they do. So keep your head on a swivel and pay attention to what is going on in this spot. I think right now, with the way that it is structured and with Iowa, with I believe a third-string quarterback, we're going to take Missouri. Missouri minus the 3. But I am recording this on December 20th, so do your research and make sure that Brendan Sullivan is not playing for Iowa. If he's not, we're Missouri all day. The ReliaQuest Bowl, and we have got Michigan against Alabama. Alabama currently favored by 10.5. This thing opened at Alabama minus 12.5. My numbers had Alabama minus 10.5 when everybody was playing and everybody's healthy and blah, blah, blah. My spread based on the last 4 weeks, Bama minus 18. Yes, I know that Michigan just beat Ohio State, but it's not like they scored a bunch of points to do it. And Ohio State played right into their hands. But in this situation, Michigan has got basically their entire defensive line sitting out on this one. We're going to see about Stewart and some of the other guys, but we know that Graham is not playing. Then it gets real tricky. Will Johnson, the cornerback, not playing in this game. The Michigan offense has been abysmal. Can't put up points on anybody other than Northwestern, which they put up 50 for. I don't even know how that worked. Michigan can run the football a little bit. That's going to be interesting for Alabama's defense, which, as you see right here, number 46 in rushing success rate allowed, number 55 in offensive line yards allowed, number 78 in stuff rate. Michigan's offensive line, should everybody play, should be able to run the ball on Alabama. If they can play keep away, then they can keep this game pretty close. However, when you get into explosiveness, net explosiveness, Michigan is number 128. Alabama is number 23. And if Michigan doesn't have their edge rushers and their guys that can get to Jalen Milroe, he's going to be able to hit them over the top because that secondary is not great. As you can see here, number 77 PPA per pass, number 62 passing success rate allowed, number 62 in passing explosiveness. Jalen Milroe and that whole bunch, it appears, are playing. You've got several wide receivers that have opted out for Alabama that are transferring, but you still got Ryan Williams. You still got Jeremy Bernard. That's the guys. And you got Jam Miller still being able to run the football, which they're not great at it, but also that Michigan defensive line, as good as they are at other stuff, such as Havoc, etc., number 82 in stuff rate, not great. Not great. This is basically just a bet based on roster attrition, and Michigan has lost their more important pieces than Alabama. So give me the Tide, minus 10.5 on this one. The Sun Bowl has got Louisville taking on the Washington Huskies, and currently Louisville is a 2.5-point favorite in this one. Interesting spot here because there's no Tyler Shuck. There's a bunch of defensive guys that are opting out for Louisville as well. They've just got a whole list of guys. There's some offensive linemen that are going to be out as well. So a lot to pay attention to with who is actually playing in the game. My number, based on everybody being healthy, is Louisville minus 9. Spread based on the last 4 weeks would have Louisville favored by like 3 touchdowns, by 20, which is absurd. And I know this. I know it's absurd, but just play along with me because the last 4 week stats are highly volatile. It's a small sample size. Just roll with it, guys. Washington has got a bunch of guys that are going to be playing. They are going to be motivated for this because Jed Fish likes to get his guys motivated. He is going to play a bunch of younger guys. Will Rogers is not going to play quarterback. The defense, I think, is going to be fired up for it as well. Number 10 in PPA per pass, or number 10 in PPA allowed per pass. Number 8 in QBR allowed, etc. And that is the bulk of Louisville's offense. However, I would imagine we're going to see more running from them. They only ran the ball 44.44% of their offensive snaps this year. I expect more running with that incredible freshman running back because Tyler Shuck is not going to be in there throwing the ball all around. So I think you're going to get some interesting stuff from Louisville playing maybe a younger quarterback. But same thing with Washington. I think Washington is going to have a younger guy in there prepping for next year, using these bowl practices. And I think Washington is more excited about being in the Sun Bowl than Louisville. And if you're just basing this on motivation, that's pretty much all you need. This number was at 4.5. It is all the way down to 2.5. I think it gets closer to a pick'em once we get closer to game time. I will take Washington plus the 2.5 on this. That moves us over to Orlando, Florida, the Citrus Bowl. And South Carolina currently favored by 9.5 in this one. Illinois, number 47 in PPA margin. South Carolina, number 19. The Illinois offense looks pretty good. Looks like Luke Altmaier, their quarterback, has said that he is coming back next year. Very interesting. And if he gets Zachary Franklin again, then, they're going to be fantastic again. Number 2 in the country in passing explosiveness. The question here is whether or not Illinois is going to be able to protect Luke Altmaier, right? There are some guys out for both of these teams. We're waiting to see exactly what it's going to look like for South Carolina, exactly who is going to be opted out. But, yeah, this is an interesting spot because South Carolina, number 13 in havoc created. Illinois is number 113 in havoc allowed. If they can't keep Altmaier upright, then he can't throw the ball down the field. As far as running the ball, Illinois' offensive line doesn't really stand a chance against the front seven of South Carolina. I say doesn't really stand a chance. They stand a chance, obviously. It's a bowl game. Who is more motivated, right? But regardless, looking at this, I'm fully bought in on South Carolina, wanting to prove everybody wrong, wanting to get to a 10th win, etc. And the fact that this thing has come all the way down to 9.5, I'm going to roll South Carolina. I feel strongly enough about Lenore Sellers against this defense. And I know that they're only number 69 in PPA per rush, number 76 in rushing success rate, but Illinois cannot stop the run. Number 113 in PPA allowed per rush, number 129 in rushing success rate. I don't see it. Number 133 in offensive line yards allowed, and they're number 134 in stuff rate. Illinois is not going to be able to stop the run. It's just bananas. So, yeah, I'm interested. I'm certainly interested in what this game is going to look like, but I think South Carolina wins it by double digits, even with the guys that they've got sitting out on this one. All right, let me tell you about Go Sleeves. It's almost Christmas time. Actually, it is technically Christmas time, right? I mean, that's really what we're looking at here. And what we're looking at is GoSleeves.com/WCE. I think that's the best way to take a look at this because it's the best kinesiology technology on the market. Go Sleeves is fantastic. I cannot stress to you how awesome their stuff is. Okay, the best compression sleeves, the best compression socks, shirts, etc. It enhances blood flow in those areas. It helps your joints. It helps out all kinds of different things. And if you've got a little bit of pain from any kind of athletic endeavor that you were trying to do, this is where you need to go. Do your research. Go to GoSleeves.com/WCE and get it checked out. I'm telling you, you will like what you're doing. And I believe you get 15% off if you use that promo code WCE. So go ahead and check it out, GoSleeves.com. Also, if you want to support the show, you can do that at winningcureseverything.com. We do have a web store over there, as well as, of course, I mentioned it, bettingcfb.com if you like all of this stuff. All right, let's continue on. We got 5 more bowl games. Let's dive into it. The Texas Bowl featuring Baylor and LSU. LSU currently a 1-point dog in this spot because their tackles have opted out of this game. They've got multiple other guys, wide receivers, Kyron Lacey, etc., CJ Daniels. They have opted out, some of them transferring, some of them getting ready for the NFL, etc. Baylor, only a handful of guys have opted out. So they should have basically their full team ready to roll here. And this Baylor team really picked things up. They are keeping Jake Spavital. They are keeping Sawyer Robertson from everything that I understand. Looks good. Everything looks fine. Everything's good. So, looking at this, I am interested in this ball game. This is a fun ball game. The Baylor offense is good. I mean, they're just really good. If you just look at overall numbers, number 38 in PPA per drive, number 31 in PPA per play, number 25 in offensive success rate. And LSU, on defense, number 89 in PPA allowed per drive. They're number 60 in defensive success rate allowed. However, they're number 74 in passing success rate allowed, and that's not good when you're going up against Sawyer Robertson and them. LSU's still not great at defending the run. Baylor is number 18 in stuff rate allowed, number 45 in offensive line yards. LSU number 54 and number 50. So, very curious about this one. I think Baylor's going to be able to put up points. LSU, what is the motivation here? I mean, the last time they were in the Texas Bowl was the last year of Ed Orgeron when they were moving to Brian Kelly. and they only had like 39 scholarship dudes. I think they'll probably have more than 39 scholarship players here, but they did get routed by Kansas State in that game. Baylor, I think, wants to be here more. I think they're more motivated. We're going to roll with Baylor. Baylor minus the 1 on this one. We move to the Gator Bowl, and we got Ole Miss against the Duke Blue Devils, and Ole Miss is currently favored by 15 points or 14.5 points. Whew, that is a lot of points. Just a whole lot of points. Duke is going to play Henry Beelan. I believe that's who it is. He played against Florida State last year, against several other guys as well last year, and was actually pretty decent. He was not Malik Murphy level, but still, this Duke offense has been atrocious. They can't run the ball, and even if Ole Miss has like the whole starting defense sit out, I still don't know that Duke would be able to run the football. Malik Murphy is not playing in this one. He is transferring to Oregon State, and in Tulane, quarterback Darian Mensah is going to take over whenever he actually enrolls and gets here. So this is an interesting spot because as bad as Duke's offense has been all year, their defense is pretty lights out. This Ole Miss offense, number 71 in offensive line yards, number 94 in stuff rate allowed. Duke is really good at this. Number 27 in offensive line yards allowed, number 16 in stuff rate. They are number 3 in havoc. Ole Miss is number 53 in havoc allowed. Pressure rate and whatnot, Jackson Dart may not have a ton of time to be able to throw. Duke went 9-3 for a reason. They're motivated. Manny Diaz said that they're not going to have any opt-outs in this, aside from anybody that's transferring, et cetera, that wants to, then they can, obviously. But he said for the most part, they're good. Ole Miss, we're still a ways away from this. This game is in January. I'm talking about it December 20th. There's a chance that Walter Nolan sits out. There's a chance that a lot of these guys end up opting out of this one. And if that is the case, this Ole Miss defense gets a lot easier to go against. I still don't expect a ton of points from Duke, but I do think that Ole Miss could have a really hard time scoring on them. I mean, we saw it against Kentucky, who was not a very good football team. We saw it against Florida, who was not very good. What is the motivation factor for an Ole Miss team that planned on being in the playoff? I don't think the quarterback necessarily mattered all that much for Duke. I think that defense is absolutely fired up for this one. Give me the Blue Devils, plus the 15 on this. I don't think Ole Miss is going to be super motivated here. And it's up to them to prove me wrong, I guess. We shall see. 3 more. The First Responder Bowl. North Texas and Texas State. And North Texas has just got everybody out. Everybody. Chandler Morris, the quarterback, is gone. Lines of scrimmage are just kind of all sorts of problems. They got skill guys out. It's a mess. Absolute mess. Now, Texas State has got some dudes out as well. But it ain't nearly as bad as what North Texas is going through. They are kind of rebuilding the roster again with Eric Morris. G.J. Kinney got that bunch fired up. Texas State, this is only their second bowl game. They're going to be fired up for this one. I mean, it is what it is. This is an old school conference rivalry matchup, and they're not in the same conference anymore. But this one, you should have some fan bases pretty excited about this. So, looking at the numbers and whatnot, which none of them necessarily matter at this point, but I do have Texas State favored by 10 here, by 12.5. Texas State is favored by 10.5 in the game. So, which direction are we going? This number is at 68.5. I don't think you're going to get that many points. But maybe you could, because maybe Texas State just piles it on. I don't know. I kind of feel like North Texas, that offense that Eric Morris runs, it's a system offense. So I feel like almost anybody that they toss in there is going to have some success. And that Texas State defense is, the numbers look better than they really are. I don't know. You see all this, like number 49 in PPA allowed per play, number 47, number 32 in defensive success rate allowed. But you get down here and they're number 62 in points per game allowed. Not great. But North Texas also, they allow a lot of points. So, yeah, I know this is a lot at 10.5, but I am of the belief that Texas State is probably going to mollywomp these guys. So let's go ahead and take that. Texas State minus the 10.5. The Mayo Bowl. Virginia Tech taking on Minnesota. And Virginia Tech has got problems, guys. This number is Minnesota minus 6.5. Doesn't look like Drones is going to play. Schlee has been hurt towards the end of the season. So we got all kinds of problems for them. They've got a bunch of line of scrimmage guys that are opting out. Minnesota, PJ Fleck always seems to get his guys up for bowl games. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. They're always fired up. My number on this would have Virginia Tech favored by almost 1 point, just based on the regular season stats. Number of plays, etc., the PPA, that's predicted points added and whatnot. Minnesota's offense has not been very good. Virginia Tech's offense has been even worse, except for when Drones is in and all that kind of stuff, right? So Minnesota, looking at their offense against that Virginia Tech defense, there's just certain matchup problems that Virginia Tech could have provided if their guys were all playing. But, I mean, they fired coordinators. They've got all kind of stuff that's going on. Just looking at overall talent, the 5 factors, overall talent and the overall 5 factors, Minnesota number 32, Virginia Tech number 44. This is anything under a touchdown, and I feel pretty good about Minnesota. Looks like the majority of their guys are going to play. And like I said, PJ Fleck gets his guys motivated for these games. Last year, Brent Pry had his guys motivated for a bowl game against Tulane, but that was against all of Tulane's backups. Willie Fritz had left, In this situation, Virginia Tech is the ones with the coaching staff upheaval and a lot of transfers. So I am of the belief that Minnesota covers that 6.5 in this spot. Last one, the Bahamas Bowl. Buffalo and Liberty. Jamie Chadwell said that anybody that is transferring is not going to play in the game. And Liberty's got a bunch of guys that are transferring. Caden Salter is going to Colorado. They got a bunch of linemen out, running back, blah, blah. I mean, it's just kind of a mess. And we have no idea what they're going to look like in this Jamie Chadwell offense. Buffalo, I think, is motivated here. I think they are fired up for this. I think Liberty is just I think basically they're going to use this as practice, right? Buffalo currently favored by 2 in this game. And I love this spot for Pete Limbo and his staff. They really turned things around this year. They are 8-4. They went 7-5 against the spread. This Buffalo team, and number 33 in turnover margin, number 8 in penalties per game. They're number 50 in special teams efficiency. Liberty is worse in every metric as far as the intangibles. Now, you start looking at a down-to-down drive or down-to-down success rate, et cetera, like Liberty number 7 in offensive success rate, number 42 in defensive success rate, et cetera. Yeah, that's all great, except that those guys that created those numbers are not going to play. I mean, that's the easiest way to say it. They're not going to play. So while I would have had Liberty favored by 8 points, even the spread based on the last 4 weeks of stats, I would have had Buffalo favored by just a touch, like 0.3 points. But I think that Buffalo is going to have some success here. I think Buffalo wins the game. And with a spread of only 2, I think they win this by like a touchdown or more. I think Liberty kind of uses this as a vacation and, hey, we're just going to get ready for next season, and it is what it is, right? So that's the direction that I'm going here because this opened up Liberty as a 2.5-point favorite. It's now all the way out on the other side. I will go with the line movement. I will take Buffalo to win this game outright. So let's recap it, and then let's get out of here. We got North Carolina minus 2.5. We got Nebraska minus 2.5. We got TCU minus 13. Miami minus 3.5. A lot of favorites here. Miami of Ohio minus 3. East Carolina plus 5.5. BYU plus 6. Army minus 17. Missouri minus 3. Alabama minus 10.5. Washington plus 2.5. South Carolina minus 9.5. Baylor minus 1. Duke plus 15. Texas State minus 10.5. Minnesota -6.5, and Buffalo -2. That is going to wrap things up. Don't forget about the BetUS College Football Show, Monday, December 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern, and, of course, Monday, December 30th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And then we get into playoff talk and whatnot in January. January 7th, that's a Tuesday. We'll be back for that one, 1 p.m. Eastern then. January 14th, 1 p.m. Eastern. And then we will be here on the day of the national championship game. We'll see about what time that is. I would imagine probably 1 p.m. Eastern, but who knows? Don't forget bettingcfb.com. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and you guys know how this stuff works. All right. I appreciate all of you. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. God bless college football, and hopefully, all of your tickets cash this week. Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Make sure and follow me on Twitter @GaryWCE. If you want to toss in a question, you can email me, Gary@winningcureseverything.com. Make sure and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.